Welcome to the Sharpway Show. So happy to see you this evening. It's a little bit past 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And yes, I am here with you yet again, chatting it up. I know last night we had a very late night. We were up past 11, yapping about all types of cool things. You missed a great show if you missed that. Too bad on you, but you can watch it if you want to. It's still there. But today I have what I think is in a way, a bit more serious show, but in a way not. It's kind of both in this case. We're going to be talking about the ideas of, does your government deserve your wealth? Does it deserve your loyalty? What can you do about that? What should you be afraid of? And what should be your next steps? And I have with me a very interesting guest, someone who is going to hopefully enlighten us in many ways. She is the COO of Plan B Passports, the one, the only Jessica Hodlr. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Outstanding. And if you want to follow her, you can. You can check out what I have for her on the description on both YouTube and Facebook, or just follow her on Twitter. All her goodies are there for you to view. And you can follow her at Jessica Hodlr. And for those of you who are listening, that is Jessica, as you would think, with a C, but Hodlr. Check that out on Twitter. So, Jessica, I have to ask you, you have been talking recently, not recent, but last year or two, couple years, about the idea of getting another passport, the idea of kind of almost like checking out in a way, right? Almost like that, like kind of pulling away. And I think the timing, in my view, seems to really be good timing, right? The idea of the lockdowns and how many people got tired of that and thought, oh my God, I never thought that would happen. And I look in my state of New York, and in my city particularly, the largest city in the country, where at 7 p.m., some people don't know this, but when we were being locked down at the height, we would come outside. I mean, not me, but we as New Yorkers would come outside and clap for the people who were working. That is, I know you're odd. That is like next level Stockholm syndrome. Like we are like way up there in Stockholm syndrome. We clap for our jailers. And when that happened, it really shocked me. I was very surprised. Obviously, either that affected you or something. How did that affect you and what you're doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically how I like to explain a Plan B passport is basically it's an insurance policy, especially for Americans, because, we don't really think about actually leaving. Like we have a great country. We have great things going on here. I'm in Florida during COVID. We had lockdown for probably restaurants started opening up like a month after the 15 days to slow the spread. But I like to think of it as an insurance policy because as we saw in Australia, as we saw in New Zealand, Canada, people couldn't leave. They actually could not leave their country with the passport from their country. So if they had a second passport, they could go and say, look, I have a one-way ticket to St. Kitts. I'm going back home. You can't keep me here. And they had a way out.
Yes, I see. So, I mean, I was thinking that kind of thing. Right? The idea that, okay, I need to get a second passport, but is this going to work? Because there's a migration from cities right now. Heavily that happened because of lockdowns. I mean, that was kind of already happening a little bit, right? After 2009, there were basically no real recovery in the country except in cities. So people were flocking to cities. But then as the internet and as people are, doing more online, that slowed tremendously. And then the lockdowns, I mean, that was a punch in the stomach to cities.
For sure.
Cities people started leaving and not coming back. And in New York City, again, I'm New York centered, obviously. I live in New York City, right? So that's where my head is. But New York City, I mean, we're down to probably 50, 60% people who are back in the commercial spots. I mean, it's a big problem. Does that mean somebody actually wants to pack up and leave and go to some other country, but still work in America? Do I want to have my New York City job, but I want to live in whatever, Ireland or Canada or whatever, I don't know, insert country here. Is that what we're talking about? Or actually just getting out and leaving, period?
So, I mean, it really depends on the, position that the country is in. I mean, people have a plan B because of, say, political instability, civil unrest, government intervention, basically just things that they don't agree that's happening anymore, where they just say, okay, like I'm completely done here. I'm out. And I'm going to where my plan B is. That's why people set up homes elsewhere. They'll grab real estate. So
this isn't just a passport. This is more than just a passport.
Yeah, you can set up a whole other like center for yourself. You can get a bank account, you can get a driver's license, you can get a house, and that's why we call it flag theory. And that's when you actually complete the entire flag. And flag theory is establishing flags in different jurisdictions that benefit you specifically, whether it's you're looking for a better regulatory environment for your business, a better lifestyle
Give
for
me
your
an
family.
example of that, if you don't mind. Give me an example of that. I'm a consultant. I'll give you my actual business, right? I'm a business consultant. I spend most of my time consulting for 3 different groups, either law or tech or finance, right? My specialty is emotional communication. So I go for people who are very technical. That is my niche, right? If you're already good at that kind of stuff, you don't need me. But if you're very technical and you speak very technically, that's my niche, right? That's where I fit. So how does a guy like me who is I do almost all the work, but I have a couple of temporary people, part-time people that I use to assist, but it's heavily me. What flag do I grab?
Yeah, so actually we've seen a lot of interest towards Dubai, especially for entrepreneurs and businesses, because it's zero corporate taxes. Obviously, as an American, you can't really escape those taxes. But with other countries, say like if you're a Canadian, you can establish yourself as a non-tax resident of Canada, basically showing the country that you're completely cutting ties with them. You're not spending the majority of your time there and you're moving elsewhere. And then you can become a tax resident of Dubai and take advantage of all the tax regime there.
So wait a minute. So you're telling me that I remember something I either saw or read from you. You talked about the idea of citizen-based taxation. Is that right? Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I think most Americans don't get that.
Yeah. So there's actually only 2 countries in the entire world that have citizenship-based taxation. It's the US and Eritrea. And basically,
that is, but for those who don't know, that is an East African country.
Yes.
Yes.
And basically, it means that no matter where you are in the world, whether or not you spend the majority of your time in the US, you have to file in the US. So the example that I was giving earlier with Canada becoming a non-tax resident, it doesn't apply to Americans. You can like do a non-tax.
So hold on. So I cannot live in America for 5, 10, 20 years. I still got to pay taxes in America.
Yep.
But other countries don't do that.
Right. You can become a non-tax resident of said country, but you just can't spend the majority of your time there. The most important of that whole process is that you don't spend more, say, than 83 days out of the year in that country.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. But I gotta look, I know I got upset too about things, the Patriot Act and the coerced jab everyone had to take, right? I get it, right? I have a buddy of mine who recently is in a very bad financial situation. And one of the reasons why is because he refused to get the jab and lost his job and couldn't work. And now he's in a really tough spot now because of that. And I feel terrible about that, right? Government's not supposed to do that, right? They're not supposed to, but somehow they do. But it doesn't make me, and I don't think him, feel comfortable with the idea of kind of abandoning America, if that makes any sense. Like, it doesn't feel good to us. I'm a Marine, right? I still have the tattoo. Like, literally, I'm branded, right? I'm branded. So it's hard for me to even imagine doing something like that. You must get pushback from people who are like, but I'm American. You must get pushback, right?
Yeah. And the majority of our clients, they don't renounce. They don't even consider it. And I'm American myself. Like, I love the US. I love living here. It's so when they get the second passport, it's really just a peace of mind so that they can sleep at night knowing that if, God forbid, something awful happened here, that they have a way out.
So maybe I'm confused. I'm assuming that if I want to become whatever, a citizen of Canada, or I don't know what are the good countries I should be going to? Dubai or whatever. I don't even know the good countries. For sake of argument, Dubai, because you mentioned it, right? I can still also be an American, or no?
Correct. Yeah. So we work with 5 different Caribbean islands. We work with St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Antigua, Dominica, and Grenada. And as an American, you can have multiple passports. Some people have like 7 passports.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I have a feeling that if the FBI saw me with 7 passports, they would just arrest me. They would just assume I'm a bad guy. They would just arrest me. They wouldn't even charge me. Just put me in jail. Put him in jail. Send him to Gitmo. I'm sure he's a bad guy. Who cares? We'll find charges later. He's got 7 passports. Hey, he's a bad guy. So I guess the advice I'd give anyone with 7 passports is don't keep them in the same place.
Yeah,
that would be my advice. Absolutely. Oh my God, that would be horrible.
No.
Okay. So you don't have to renounce,
Correct.
right? And but you can get a secondary passport.
Yes. There are countries though, however, that don't allow dual citizenship. So if you're from India, you can't. The Netherlands, you can't. So there are exceptions, but for the majority, you can hold multiple passports.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. So one part you talk about is the passport piece, which I get it. It makes sense to me to have that because you could pack up and leave if you had to. You could escape if something went bad, right? Something like that, right? You could take off if you had to. And I like that concept. But there is another issue though. And it's the KYC laws. I know you've spoken against them. I've spoken against KYC laws for a long time. Those of you who don't know what KYC laws are, KYC stands for Know Your Customer. And it's basically a way financial institutions, they say it's for security. That is what they say.
Taking off their shoes at the airport.
That's correct. Yes. They say it's taking off your shoes. Right. They say it's for security and because they care about us and they're going to stop the bad guys, right? I can't say the actual word because I might get trashed on YouTube. So the bad guys, right? So they're going to be the bad guys. But in reality, all KYC laws do is make life harder for the individual, number one. 2, make sure the bad guys just do something else. They're still bad guys. They didn't stop any of the bad guys. That didn't happen. But 3, I think, which is more important, which is the part you bring up, Jessica, which I love that you bring this up, is it allows large organizations to hold all of our information so the government can take it whenever they want.
Yep.
This drives me crazy. But if I get another passport in some other country, aren't I still subject to those same KYC laws? Doesn't that not help me?
So the countries that we work with, it's completely confidential, your personal information, your financial information. And that's actually another reason why people consider a second passport is because they're completely removed from the 5 I countries. So US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. They don't share
what did you call them? The 5 what countries?
5 I countries. So basically you can consider all of these countries basically one passport because they all share information amongst each other. But if you have, say, a passport from St. Kitts, they don't share your information with these countries. So the reason why we talk about flag theory is because you're basically decentralizing your identity in a way, because you're planting flags in jurisdictions that are separated from each other.
Now that feels, again, I don't know the law on this at all. I'm telling you how it feels. It feels if I take X dollars and stash it in St. Kitts, that there's gonna be a Fed at my door telling me how much of a friend he is, and he's gonna be telling me how, oh, help me get the money to St. Kitts, and then once I show him that I have it there, I'm in handcuffs. I mean, I feel like that's gonna happen. Is that a real fear or no?
No, I mean, follow the money, follow the incentive. I mean, these islands have a really big incentive to keep the program the way they do. And of course, you got to follow the law, the US laws, and, pay your taxes. But I mean, you also have the opportunity to get a passport in another jurisdiction. There's nothing illegal about it. And actually, a lot of people don't even know that you can get a second passport. I've had conversations with people where they're like, a second US passport? Like, is this a backup? Like, what is this? Like, you can get a passport through descendancy. If you have parents that were born in another country, you can get another passport that way. The countries we work with, it's a pure capitalism applied to a government service. So basically, you donate money to the government fund, and then they give you a passport.
Ah, got it. People don't know the U.S. does that too. People don't know the U.S. does that too. Yes. If you got enough cash, you're in. That's how that works. Yeah. For all countries, you got enough dollars.
It's the price tag is different.
We've always loved you. Of course we love you. Of course we do. Wow. Oh, $1 million, my best friend. Of course you're one of us. Yes. So I like that idea. Okay. So with that in mind, I don't have to renounce my citizenship. Then that's not required.
Correct.
I can go get another passport. That's great. And then I'm not subject to KYC laws, right? If I go to certain countries, right? If I'm not in the 5I, right? And if I go there, then I am. But then how do I spend my money if my money is now, right? Because you mentioned something else which I love. You talk about the idea of being afraid of a state actor attack. And this is what libertarians talk about all the time, and no one listens to us. Like I just did. I was just talking about the Fed knocking on my door. That's literally a state actor attack, right? I mean, I see it, and I tell you that in my day job, I consult with law, tech, finance. Part of my law consulting is with criminal defense attorneys. So I am part of listening to all the things that the federal government does when there's sting operations and putting people away. And for those of you who don't know, there's a whole lot of people going away. The federal government's putting them away, and they have done nothing wrong. You're saying, Larry, how do you know? I'm on the defense team. They tell me everything. I know exactly who's guilty and who isn't. I know all the players, and people go to jail who are not guilty. Yep. So I guess my worry with that is, where's my money? And when I go looking for it, do I get in trouble then? How do I spend, right? I mean, or do I just have to have two bank accounts? I mean, what I'm hearing here is, and I'm not upset, it is what it is. This again goes to the wealthy have a massive, they have a massive, advantage, right? If I can afford to put $250,000 into St. Kitts, I'm going to do a whole lot better than if I'm, making $20 an hour trying to make ends meet. I'm going to have a harder time. But I'm sorry, say I have, so for the sake of argument, I have the $250,000 I can put in the St. Kitts. Yeah. Do I have to put that all in the St. Kitts? Can I keep that here? How do I transfer the funds without getting caught and getting the Fed knock on the door?
No, I mean, if only we had a borderless, permissionless, decentralized digital asset.
Hey, wait a minute. I think you're talking about Bitcoin. Yes. I agree with you on the Bitcoin piece. However, I've got 3 issues with Bitcoin. 3. Okay. I'm sure you've heard them all, but still enlighten me anyway. The biggest one I have is, I think most people don't see it as currency. I think they see it as an investment, right? They don't see it as a currency. I don't know. I mean, maybe there are people, but I'm saying in my world, I obviously don't know everybody, but in my world, people use it as an investment. I don't know anybody who buys stuff in Bitcoin. Isn't that a problem? Isn't that a disadvantage of Bitcoin?
I mean, I think that it's the first time we've ever seen a true form of savings technology. This is the first time we've ever seen monetary sovereignty for the individual. And I think that it's just a part of growing pains. I mean, some people don't even know the problem that Bitcoin solves, where it's completely decentralized, it's permissionless, it's inflation resistant, it's got a cap of 21 million. People don't know what that means. All they see is easy money that's printed every day. We have problems. Oh, we're just going to print more money. It's totally fine. I've seen videos where basically people are like, just don't let it inflate. But why are you letting it inflate? Just don't let it inflate. People just don't understand how money works, how the systems works, and what problems Bitcoin solves.
Well, with that in mind, are you telling me it's just an education piece? I mean, isn't Bitcoin literally going up and down often? And don't we have almost like a cultural block with many people? In my head, I got to tell you, I own Bitcoin. I don't know how much I own because I bought it and it's just sitting in, I forgot where I put it. Like my wife knows, but I don't know where. Maybe she might've taken it already, but my assumption is she hasn't stolen it from me, but maybe she has, who knows, but my wife has it somewhere. I don't remember where. And we just have it. We don't even think about spending it. It's almost like in my mind, it's like found money. Like if all of a sudden, I guess you convince me to go to St. Kitts or something, I guess I'll then cash out my Bitcoin and use it for whatever, St. Kitts dollars, whatever is the currency there. I still feel like that's a problem. Is that something we can get over?
I think so. I think we'll eventually get there, especially when the adoption rate continues to grow. And I mean, when you look at the chart over time, I mean, it's just a continuous up. I mean, obviously in the short term, you see up and down, up and down, up and down. But in the grand scheme of things, it's only going up. And not only is it number go up technology, but I view it as freedom go up technology, because no one can
that.
tell me what I can do with my money. No one can tell me when I can spend my money. Like, it's actually mine.
I got it. All right. Second piece I'm concerned about. And that is, I think most people don't know the difference between Bitcoin and Litecoin and Dogecoin and Bitcash. And they just know which one will you take or which one can I make my cash on, right? I don't think they understand the difference. Like, some of them are forked, some of them are connected, some of them are linked, some of them aren't. I think people have no idea. Yeah. And that also worries, because then someone's going to say, oh, doesn't matter, I'll just buy Dogecoin and then I'll go buy a car when I go to whatever, Ireland, right? I think people believe stuff like that. Am I wrong here?
No, you're totally right. And I mean, I refer to those as shit coins, and they're
shit coins. I like that.
They're basically just an online casino. They're just there to attract your greed. They're just there to make you believe that this fantasy of that you're going to be a multimillionaire in like 3 months, just throw in like all your money and you're going to be so wealthy. They're not decentralized. They're they're an online casino.
Okay, why is Bitcoin different? Aren't they? I know that this is not. I know the answer to this question I'm going to ask you, but I know there are literally tens of millions of people who don't.
Yeah, no.
What's the difference between Bitcoin and the shitcoin? What's the difference?
Yeah. So no one is in control of Bitcoin. There's will be and only ever will be 21 million Bitcoin. It can't be manipulated. It can't be inflated or counterfeited. It's monetary sovereignty for the individual. No one can tell you when you can't spend your money. You know, you can have literally the transactions on your computer, seeing what's done when. There's nothing like it, and there never will be anything else like it.
Joe has a very good point. He says, I heard if a crypto coin has a CEO, stay away. Is that true? Is Joe right or no?
Definitely. Because I mean, we're humans at the end of the day. People only think about themselves. You're not going to have one person that's going to be like, yes, I'm just going to do what's right for everybody else.
I love the people, Jessica. I love the people. That's what it is.
I'm going to do what's best for them, obviously.
Love the people.
You can't trust human nature.
Gotcha. Okay. Alexander says, what pro-Bitcoin policies does Jessica believe the U.S. can implement to create jobs in this industry? I'm not sure this is Jessica's specialty, but Jessica, if you have a policy, I'm open. Do you have one?
Bitcoin policies. I mean, the whole, who is it? Elizabeth Warren. She's so anti-Bitcoin.
Yes, she is.
But I mean, just basically accepting it. I mean, I think honestly, one of the easiest ways to show someone how amazing Bitcoin is when they get paid in it, because it's instant. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for it to clear. It's literally instantaneous. And I feel like that actually might be one of the easiest way to.
I'm going to tell you 2 things I think we should fix that would help Bitcoin. The first one is removal of a bit license, and New York State has that. That idea is terrible. The concept of having a bit license is terrible, because that means that only banks control it, and banks can be controlled because banks, to Joe's point, have CEOs. So even though the banks won't control Bitcoin with a bit license, the banks will control your Bitcoin. And that is an issue that
removes the whole point of Bitcoin.
That's exactly right. The bit license removes the entire point of Bitcoin. So number one, I would say remove all bit licenses. And right now, only New York has one, but other states are trying to create one. Yeah. So remove that. That's my opinion, Alexander. I'm sorry, I'm giving you my opinion. And the second thing is, no law that will ever monopolize any coin, right? You never want to monopolize a coin for anything, and that's be zero. You should always be able to have free coins on whatever you think appropriate. And the example I give, and I've done this years ago, I was talking at a Bitcoin conference. I said, think about all of the coins, any of them you want to use, all the cryptocurrencies. If you imagine when I was a kid, I loved comic books, and I used to trade them. Right? I would trade them back and forth. And I'd go to a place and I would trade my Iron Man for your Hulk, or my Captain America for your Spider-Man. Right? I would swap them. Now that's being swapped. And the value was what we agreed the value was. Like, the community agreed that the one Spider-Man was worth 2 Hulks. Like, we knew that. So we traded. No one paid taxes. No one knew, right?
There was like a tax.
I was like 9. So no, we were not paying taxes, right? Not at all. And just an interesting point was just a nostalgia point. My first comic book convention was at the Twin Towers before they went down in the 70s.
Wow.
That's how old I am. I was 70s. So in the 70s is when I went there, and we were swapping comics. Comics were like 20 cents at the time. Now they're like $6 or something. I don't know. Anyway, but they're like 20 cents. So yes. And I said, was that bad? Was that evil? And the people in the audience were like, well, no. I said, same thing. If you're a little bit younger than me, maybe it's Beanie Babies. Maybe it's Pokemon cards, right? Whatever is the cool thing of your youth. I don't know what the cool thing of your youth was, Jessica, but whatever the cool thing was, whatever the kids traded back and forth, who cares? If you want to trade, you trade, right? And I think we want to make sure that people can trade in whatever they want. If we'll let kids do it, we can let adults do it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, they're free to, gamble their money.
Absolutely. I don't want to stop them.
They're free to.
Yes, I don't want to stop
them. Maybe guide them.
I don't want to stop them. Yes. I don't want to stop them. I completely agree. I don't want to stop them. 100%. So I know we talk about that a lot, the idea of the Bitcoin piece. And I like that piece. But now I want to go to a piece that I think is scary. This is the third part about the Bitcoin I'm worried about. And that's CBDCs.
Yeah.
Right? Central bank digital coin, for those who don't know, the idea that the government will now create one. And I know a lot of people, particularly in the libertarian world, like, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm just going to be very forward. It's coming. There is no way to avoid it. It is going to happen. You can scream, you can yell, you can get mad, you can go and protest if you want to. Makes you feel good. Go ahead and do it. I hope you don't get a sunburn when you do it. I hope you're okay. Make sure to put the stuff on so you don't get a sunburn. But
don't eat oils.
Don't do that. Yes, exactly. Yes. But whatever, please you're not going to change anything. If you want to feel good, go ahead. It's coming. That's got to scare people like you, Jessica, and the people who you are around. It's got to be scary for you, isn't it?
I mean, it's definitely a reality that I'm well aware of. But I mean, that's even why I'm more grateful that I do have Bitcoin, because I know that I have an alternate system that I can just reject the CBDC system that they want to implement, where basically if you say the wrong thing, if you tweet the wrong thing, if you do the wrong thing, you're completely shut down, no access to your bank account. You can't go grocery shopping. You can't go get gas. You can't do anything because, you were a bad citizen.
Yes. And you were disloyal. How dare you?
How dare
you were disloyal to the empire. Now you pay the price. Yes. Yes. Darth Vader comes in and says, you are a traitor. Take her away. That's it. Yes. So let me do a little bit of housekeeping if I could. If you are here listening to this show, do me a favor, click the like button, because the problem with shows like this is Mr. Go Rhythm, Al Go Rhythm, doesn't like these shows. So we have to get around Mr. Go Rhythm. So to do that, you have to like this show and like it often. Like it often. If you have more than one Twitter account, more than one YouTube channel, like it a lot. We need lots of likes to get around Mr. Al Go Rhythm. So please do it if you can. If you happen to be on Twitter, please retweet this right now. Retweet it. If you retweet it more and more, people see it. It's all good. And then lastly, if you happen to be on YouTube and you want to get your chat to the front, you can always super chat me on Larry Sharpe YouTube. If you want to support the show directly, you may. Over at patreon.com/Sharpeway. $10 a month goes a long way. I do less consulting if more money comes here, so I'm spending more time with you and not trying to pay my bills. See that? People can now go to jail. Oh, I mean, the people will be okay. Just give me money is all I'm saying, basically. And if you don't care about my show, no worries. If you care about me trying to get a third party going and my libertarian quest, then support the campaign itself, LarrySharpe.com/donate. That goes to ballot access for New York State in 2024, so we can break this duopoly that is destroying us and making sure nothing gets fixed ever. So please do that if you can. And of course, Jessica is being so good, she's given us some love. So give her some love. Follow her back on Twitter at Jessica Hodlr, JESSICKHODLR. So let me keep going if I could. You talk about the idea of flag theory. This feels odd to me. It feels almost like the ultimate in, I don't know, the market, that you're literally shopping in a way for a country, in a way, right? You're almost shopping for a country.
Mm-hmm.
It feels so against human nature, almost like, I don't know if that's the right, like nationalism seems normal to me. And maybe I'm just brainwashed, right? Look, my first job was 13 months in Marine Corps boot camp. So perhaps I'm brainwashed. Maybe I am. I don't know. But I think most Americans are close to me and we feel like your nation matters, your country matters, national pride matters. And a part of this feels almost disloyal. I was joking about being disloyal to the empire, but I think there is a part of us who like, yeah, disloyal person. How do we get around that?
No, for sure. And I completely understand what you're saying. But at the same time, we don't want to be ignorant as to what's happening around us. So if we see certain risks that are happening around us, I mean, we like to have a prepper mentality of basically that if my government decides to go full authoritarian, that I can just pick up and leave. And what we also like to say is that basically once the free market of competition between jurisdictions is truly established, that just like in any capitalistic environment, there will be two driving factors. There will be the price race to the bottom and the quality race to the top. So basically, governments will become service providers and people will flee to the best service. And people, shouldn't be afraid of their government. The government should be afraid of the people.
This is the part that you've said that you will hear me say all the time. I said it literally today on my Western New York radio show. The government's not your friend, right? People in the government don't love you. They'll say it. They will tell you this all day long, right? But they don't mean it at all. No, this is just what they say to get what they want. And I feel that too many of us feel like the nation and the government are the same. And they aren't, right? No. And again, I'm gonna speak for my state. New York State is a beautiful, wonderful, amazing state full of everything you could ever want. You want skiing, you want lakes, you want mountains, you want beaches, you want Wall Street, you want Broadway. I mean, whatever you can imagine, New York State has it. Our government is garbage. Yeah. Our government is a steaming pile of shit. It is so terrible, it literally breaks up families. They're leaving here so fast. But our state's amazing. And I feel like our country's the same. We have an amazing country with an amazing history, good and bad, but still amazing either way. Yeah. And our government has become something that no one even controls. I mean, we don't even have a democracy in most cases, right? Most races aren't even competitive in any way, shape, or form. The parties pick who they want, and then so I guess when I walk, I just talked myself into it. See that? I just talked what's it? St. Kitts, you said? What's my checkbook? You literally just talked me into it. Yeah. So I talked myself into it. But I think that is what we have to grab and realize that maybe this isn't, the right answer. You've said, if I remember your phrase, short the state. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me what that means.
Basically, it means that you can't trust the government to act in your best interests. They don't care about you. They don't want you to have the best life possible. They're going to put the interests of their own first, and you need to put yourself first. And what I wanted to say earlier was basically they're going to position CBDCs as this is going to be good for you. This is going to make your life easier. This is going to make you happy. We're going to take care of you. And that's not the case whatsoever. It's just
I feel safe already. I feel safe already. Oh, good. Whew. I'm going to go to bed nice. The government's taking care of me. I love that. Yeah, oh, yes. Fantastic. If you want the government, if you want an example of the government taking care of you, just ask Native Americans how that went for them.
Yeah. You'll sleep better with a second passport in hand, I promise.
Oh, I like that. Even better. That's even better. So there's something, though, that I have a worry about. And this was triggered by something I saw with you on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I recently had another court case that I thought we were going to win. I thought there's no way the jury would convict, but the jury did. Then I recently saw another case recently. I forgot which case it was, but it's another case where it was for the Jan 6 people, where the jury said, yeah, we didn't see enough evidence, but we were scared, so we convicted him. And that's them saying it. That's not me making this up. That's them saying. They said that. And I thought, that's not how the Constitution works. Like, that's not the thing. You can't just do that. Can you? Right? And then, so juries can, if they want to, convict because they hate the guy. That's a thing they can do. I hate it. It's wrong. They shouldn't, but they can. But they only do that. I never see juries go, this entire thing was bogus and the government was terrible, so I'm going to acquit. I only see juries do the government's bidding.
Yeah.
And when you walk into a courtroom, this is going to sound terrible for some people, but if you've been to court, you know what I'm talking about. If you're if you're accused of something, you walk into a courtroom, everybody's against you. The jury assumes you're guilty. Lawyers will tell you the burden of proof is high. That's a lie. They heard that in law school years ago. Not true at all. When you walk into the courtroom, the jury assumes you're guilty. The judge assumes you're guilty because the prosecutor assumes you're guilty, and the judge used to be a prosecutor. So they all think you're guilty. If you have a public defender, he or she thinks you're guilty also. So they all think you're guilty. If you can afford to buy and spend money for defense, you can get defense. But otherwise, they all think you're guilty. Why do I bring this terrible thing up? This goes back to people who weren't coerced to get the jab, who weren't coerced to stay in their house, who willingly, happily stayed in their house. Happily, willingly, happily rushed to get the jab and every other jab they could possibly get.
Yep.
And someone once told me, they said, Larry, aren't you worried that if we do this, that one day there's going to be a white van that comes by and just grabbing people and saying, hey, you're enemy of the state because you didn't get the jab, so we got to lock you away. I said, I'm not scared of them. I'm scared of the neighbor who called them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So why did I tell this whole story? I told this whole story because I am worried that there are a lot of people who think you're crazy and that I'm crazy. Why, Larry, why would you? I'm going to get, I'm sure. Why would you have this crazy woman on your show? I'm sure I'm going to get that. I know I am.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
Right? I'm sure I am. Why would you do that? Oh my God, it's just nuts. And this went to what you said. You were talking about a man that you would date or marry. I forgot exactly which one.
Marry.
You were like, marry. Thank you. You said,
well, I wouldn't date him either. So.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Well, no judgment if you want to date and not get married. No judgment. I'm libertarian. Do you? Whatever. All good. So you said you wouldn't marry a guy who got the jab.
Yeah.
And when I first heard that, I said, that's kind of harsh. That's what I first thought. I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought, wow, she's mean. She's Jessica. Does she like punch people when she sees them? Right? Is she like that? You have a jab? Pow.
Good morning.
Exactly. I was like, is that who she is? But then I read the whole thing and I began to understand what you were saying. So let me defend some of the men who did it, if I could.
Yeah.
A lot of them were coerced. A lot of them felt, if I didn't get it, I can't work and I can't feed my family.
Yeah.
Or I can't work and I can't move my career forward. I'm going to stifle my life for literally years. And as I mentioned to you, I have a friend who took that, what I would call principled stand, right? To the principled stand. And because he did a principled stand, lost his job, didn't work for years, and now is in a very difficult financial situation, which affects his whole life. The state didn't help him. His friends didn't help him.
Yeah.
So can I get a little bit of love for the guy who might have done it?
I mean, okay, so I feel so much empathy for those people where either they were going to lose their job or just they came up with some reasoning, whatever. I do have empathy for them. However, I still cannot be with a man who chose a job over not getting the jab, because I need a man who can lead me and my future children and our lives. And if I can make the decision to not get it, but he didn't, like, I need a man who can tell me, okay, we're doing this and it be the right decision. Like I can't trust him to make the right decisions for me. The fact that he was easily manipulated by the media and the government, like I can't have that.
See, so I'm trying to be good. You said that, and I'm like, not every man was easily manipulated. Many of them waited till the last second and tried their best. And I bring this up, but there are a lot of people, particularly in New York State, and I know New York very well. I know you're in Florida, so it may not have been the same in Florida.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people in New York State that literally, if they didn't get the jab, they were going to lose their pensions. They had worked years for a pension, like it would have ended their career. And there's no place to go once you've put 12 years as a state worker in New York State. You got a family. There were people who you couldn't go see your dying loved one in a hospital.
I know.
Unless you got it. And many people wait till the last minute. And they were like, look, if you show up tomorrow without the card, because it was white card you got.
Yeah.
If you show up without the white card, you're fired. And there was no recourse. It was just bye. The unions didn't support them. Like no one supported them.
And it's crazy because then it goes back to the point of the people have the power. They just have to utilize it. What if everyone just said, no, you're not going to forcibly inject us with some experimental drug? Like, what if people just stood up and said, no, they can't fire everybody. They need people to run the place, don't they?
Well, this is the problem, right? You're correct. However, this is the problem. And I know the problem here in New York. Again, I speak, some states may not have the same issues. I know here. The New York state government runs everything. Everything. So you don't have a choice, right? They run everything. In states like New York, California, Illinois, the only growth in the private sector, I'm not joking, is government influx of cash.
Wow.
That is how bad it is, right? Without government, there's nothing. Something, if you look the country is massive. It's like 1 in 7 Americans works for the government, something like that. Wow. New York, it's higher.
Wow.
So we're almost at socialism levels of government employment. If you then count people who work for a private company, but have a contract or a grant from the government, it's even higher. But officially, they don't work for the government. They work for a private company or nonprofit, but they work based upon government contracts or government grants. So it's still just government. New York State, yes, is massive. You're in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Your budget is about half of our budget, and you have more people than we have.
That's crazy.
Yes, you have more people, and your budget's half. Yes, and worse,
I love
Florida has a surplus.
Yeah.
Florida has a surplus.
Wow.
We have about $500 billion in debt, give or take.
Of course you do.
Yes. Yes. So again, I'm trying to get you a little bit of love for some of the guys who are like, come on, you got to give me a break on this one. A little bit of love. That's all I'm asking, but maybe I'm fighting too hard. Okay, I'll stop.
I mean, I can understand it, like the position you were talking about. They would lose their pension. But I mean, the guys my age, there was no reason for them to get it. Zero. And the possibility of me having unhealthy children because they took the jab out of convenience, like, no, thank you.
That's a good point. You're probably not going to be dating some 50-year-old dude who's got a family and's been working for 20 years for the state. You're probably not going to date that guy. It's true. Right. Yeah. I mean, again, no judgment if that's what turns you on. Do your thing. But I got a feeling that's not going to be someone you're jumping for.
No.
Here we go. I got it. So I do want to ask one thing, if I could, which has come up a couple times. Everything you're talking about is very good for someone who has financial wherewithal. What if you're someone who doesn't have that much cash, right? What if you're someone who's, an average, working guy or gal, maybe you have a family, maybe you and your spouse are both working, a kid or two. Maybe you go on vacation every other year, which is now Americans used to go on vacation every year. Now, maybe you go every other year, right? Maybe you do. You're that, right? That type. Your family makes maybe 50 grand a year for your family, 60 grand a year for your whole family. What can you do? Is there defense?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can either try to get another passport through your lineage. So Ireland is really popular. Italy, if you have parents from Latin America, another popular residency program, which is different from citizenship. So you can get residency in a country, but that only allows you access to that country. So it's not an actual travel document like a passport. But say Mexico is really popular for our US clients because it's right there. Like you can literally walk to the country. So a lot of our clients get Mexico residency because it's cheap, it's quick, and it's another plan B. And you can get a passport eventually. You just have to hold the residency for 5 years and then you can apply for a passport.
Okay. So
So
for the
just
regular everyday American, there's still an option for them.
yes.
There's still an option for them. Okay, good. Because I was a little bit worried about that. Do you know if Germany is good with passports? If you have family members that were in Germany?
So if you're German, you actually have a hard time getting dual citizenship. There are
Damn you Germans.
there are certain ways around it. But yeah.
Well, there we go. How about Greece?
Greece actually has a pretty cool residency program where basically you purchase real estate and then you get residency, and then 5 years later you can get a passport. Portugal also has this program.
Look at that. I like that. Very nice
program. Yeah.
So can I take some comments? Do you mind? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. So let me see. Go down here if I can. Joe thinks you're fake because you're a Bitcoiner named Hodlr. Yes. He thinks you're fake.
Thanks.
Yeah. She's AI. She's not real.
I am. This is all. This is all
AI. This is basically the equivalent of Chat GPT on Bitcoin. Is basically what she is.
Mid-Journey and Chat GPT combined.
There we go. Absolutely. To your earlier point, Pete always brings this up. Our national debt. National debt is 31 trillion 451 billion 223 million 984,544.50. And this, by the way, Pete, is the reason we're going to go to a CBDC.
Yeah.
This is the reason.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So Adam is very clear. No, they do not. Government deserves contempt and being ignored. Adam has answered our question for us. He is absolutely clear. He's absolutely clear. Absolutely. Dave also says, no. If I was a Democrat, I'd have an icon stand with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and be burning incense and praying to them 4 or 5 times a day. But I'm not a Democrat. Well, there we go. So, yeah, I think you have some friends here, Jessica. I think there's people who are agreeing with you. Yes, I think you do. So, yes, Patty brings up my point, right? Which is you have money. You have to have money to be able to do any of what she's talking about. If you have money deprived, you're out of luck. Well, I do think that you did give some ways that you can still make some of these things happen. Are there any other tips you can give somebody who doesn't have a lot of cash?
Yeah, so a lot of Latin America has basically these programs are called financial solvency programs, where there's no donation to the government. You basically just show a savings account that you have, say like $30,000 to $50,000 in a saving account, or you get like $3,000 a month in income. You're basically showing the government that you won't become dependent on them, and on this basis,
I see.
They'll grant you residency, but you don't have to donate any money.
So if you have a job here and you're making income here, you can show them that there, and they say, okay, fine, you can get residency.
Yeah,
got it. That's better. That's something. Okay, I like that. That is something good. Okay.
And check your lineage. Seriously, check your lineage. It takes a lot longer. It takes around like a year or two, depending on how backed up the consulate is. But I mean, that's another way of getting a second passport. Gotcha.
Well, that'd be a weird one, right? What if, like, I'm black on my father's side. So on my father's side, I don't know my lineage. I only know my ancestry.com and my DNA. And I know that my DNA, the slave part of my family, actually comes from what is today Nigeria and Cameroon. That I do know. It's I think the Hausa tribe is where my family comes from. Do I get to go back and use my ancestry.com and say, hey, can I get a Nigerian passport? Does that work?
No. So you would have to show like, birth certificates, marriage certificates. You have to show a lot of documentation. Gotcha. So Nigerians aren't going to take me back, huh? Unless you have it. I guess I don't, but maybe, okay. No Nigeria for me then. Yeah. Maybe, but then again, I bet Nigeria, Cameroon, if I like wrote them a check, they'd probably be fine. Probably. Welcome home, brother. That's what they would tell me. Welcome home. Yes. Of course they would say that. I love that. So Joe is exactly the way I think, right? Why should I leave? The government's the one that sucks. I agree with you, Joe. However, the government's a whole lot more powerful than you. That's the only issue. Yeah.
Also, Christopher says it is a very interesting concept. I definitely need to do further research. Christopher is actually considering running for office here in New York City. So someone like him getting a platform and talking about this may be kind of interesting. It may make people start rethinking things.
For sure.
Right?
And
It might do that.
for sure. And I mean, some people, I mean, they just don't know. They just aren't educated on their options, and people they have options. Like, I mean, what's nice about the US is, you can leave New York or
Right.
California and you can go to Florida or Texas. But you have options.
Yeah, absolutely. Alexander goes one step further. He says, let's talk about the police. Do they deserve our obedience? Personally, I don't think we should be making cops' job harder. This is a tough one, Alexander. I agree. You brought this up. It's not the same thing, obviously, but what I would argue is if you have a police force that you're unhappy with how you're being policed, which all my police reform ideas are always about local people deciding how they want to be policed. A lot of people are mad at people like Alvin Bragg, right? The guy they're mad about from Manhattan. Manhattan people want him. Leave him alone. Right? I don't mean to be mean, but the people in Manhattan, they want that guy. I don't live in Manhattan. I don't want him, but people in Manhattan want that guy. So take him. Good luck with that. I hope it goes well for you. The people in Manhattan are more worried about whether he gets Trump than whether he gets criminals. They're more concerned about that. And you know what? Good for them. I think if you're being policed how you want to be policed, you're good. If you're not, and you can't change your police, I think you leave.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure in Australia, it was something like 76% of the population was in favor of the lockdowns and everything they implemented over there, which is crazy because you would think people would be like, you can't tell me to stay in my house. Like, you can't tell me what to do. But nope, they were totally in favor of daddy government coming in and saving them.
And you would think that former penal colonies of the British Empire would kind of be anti-British Empire, but maybe not. Maybe they were so brainwashed they got themselves into like, no, daddy, we still love you, daddy. It's okay.
People have such short-term memory. It's crazy. They just don't know history, and history is bound to repeat itself.
Robert says you can't get a dual citizenship in Norway unless at least one parent maintained their citizenship when their child's kid was born. Ooh, that's an interesting little tidbit there. Yeah. So that's very specific, isn't it?
Yeah, some jurisdictions have very specific rules. Like Norway has that one, but with like, say, Ireland, you can go as far back. I think it's like 3 or 4 generations. So it just depends.
Wow. Joe asks, can I get an Iraq passport if my parents are from there? I wonder if I'd be able to visit myself. Now, that's an interesting point because Iraq is kind of in a terrible position right now. It's still very unstable, lots of problems, all those things. So do you happen to know?
I don't know about Iraq specifically, but it won't be hard to find. Like, we actually work with Turkey. They have a citizenship by investment program, and that one's actually pretty popular because we refer to it as the geopolitically and geographically detached passport because it's
geopolitically, and say it again.
Geopolitically and geographically detached passport.
Okay.
It's pretty interesting.
So why does that one matter? I don't, it means I don't have to even go there?
No, you'd only have to go to do fingerprints, but basically what their program is, you buy real estate, you submit your documentation, and it's not a lot especially in comparison to the Caribbean. And then you would go submit your fingerprints, you get your passport. And what's interesting with Turkey is that you don't need to submit a criminal record, and you are actually able to change your last name.
It's like the French Foreign Legion.
Yeah.
It is like the French Foreign Legion.
Yep.
So basically what I do is I commit murder here, then I run to Turkey and go, I'm not Larry Sharp. I'm Larry Marp. Way different guy.
Totally different. Totally different.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not the same guy at all. Look, my passport, Larry Marp. Totally different guy.
Totally
Absolutely.
Different. Yeah.
I love that.
As long as you're not like on the, huge international search, then you'll be able to get one.
All right. So Now I know where to go when I commit murder. Thank you, Jessica. All
You're
right, so yes. So now I'm ready to go. I'll keep you on my speed dial in case I commit murder. Go to Turkey fast. Exactly. Get my MARP passport ready.
Block.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, good. You'll know when the red thing beeps. Damn it, Larry killed somebody. You'll know that.
Oh, God.
So there we go. Get the chopper. Come on. All right. So I do appreciate that. Let me do a little bit of admin if I could. Guys, if you like what you're seeing, then please click the like button. It really does matter. It's important to do that. Also, if you're watching on Twitter, please retweet this. If you retweet it, it helps me get past Mr. Go Rhythm. Algorithm is bad. He hurts us. He tries to shut us down. And if you want to support the show, you can do super chat or follow us on Patreon. $10 a month goes a long way. Patreon.com/sharpway. And Jessica's been so good to us, giving us an hour. She's given us some love. So I'm asking you to give her a little bit of love. Follow her on Twitter at Jessica Hodlr. That's JESSICAHODLR on Twitter. Before we wrap this up, Jessica, anything that you want to bring up? Something I've missed? Something we should talk about that I've missed?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to mention how, like, basically we're living in an upside down world. Fat is beautiful. Men are women. Free speech is hate speech. It's like, I feel like we're living in a reoccurring opposite day. And I feel like more and more people are just accepting this new reality. And I feel like people are afraid of speaking out against it. Like, I can't see how the majority of people actually think that a man can be a woman. I really don't.
Well, I don't know. Does that make me get a passport? I'm not sure. But okay.
No, I just wanted to talk about like the current state of basically like what I'm seeing on Twitter. I mean, it's just absolutely.
Oh, got it. Yes. But look, I think I got to tell you the truth. When it comes to those types of things, I consider most of that culture war. And I see culture war as distraction, right? And I think it goes back to, and people think I'm crazy when I say it, but I think it goes back to Occupy Wall Street. When Occupy Wall Street happened, I think the concept of Occupy Wall Street was a wonderful concept. The idea that with 99% and 1%, right, they're screwing us over. Totally true. I mean, they were right. But the problem is they were so worried about not being authoritarian in their thought process. They had no leader. They had no plan. They had nothing. It was a disaster, right? The concept was good, but the execution was garbage.
Yeah.
So what happened? The wealthy people said, wow, I'm a little bit worried about this. They got us on this one. They want our money and they want to change the system. I tell you what we'll do. We'll hire some black people. What do you think?
Yes.
And they were like, oh, yeah. And some gay people, we'll do that too. A couple of women, maybe even some black gay women. Look at that. We'll get them all for you. And then we'll have our leadership take some sensitivity classes that they totally will not fall asleep in. Yeah. They will stay the entire time and not fall asleep and be on their phones. They will absolutely do the whole thing. And the Occupy people said, yeah, they said, oh, I guess we've won then. And they walked away and nothing actually changed.
Yeah.
So they got culture war victories, but no actual change. The wealthy are still wealthy. The banks are bigger than they've ever been. They're still big to be fair. We still do bailouts. Like all the things that we hated, we're still at war, right? We're still bombing people. Nothing changed.
Yeah.
Except now we have representation. That's what we got, representation. So I feel like when I see the things you're talking about, they don't really affect me that much, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they're distraction. I feel like there's core things, right? The thing that Patty mentioned, and recently, just now, she's like, what about if you're not wealthy? That's what matters. I don't care if men are women or women are men. I don't care. Get people jobs, give people health care so they can actually do things, give people opportunity in their lives, stop our broken education system, stop with the public sector unions that are crushing education, right? End these things. Have a better system for more people to move up. I'm sorry, you got me going now. So this is your fault, Jessica. You got me going. Anyway, so all I'm saying is the things you're saying, I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You rarely see me touch them ever because it's just distraction for me.
Yeah.
I want base repairs of a broken system because right now, if we look at our left and right paradigm, the right has no answers and the left has terrible answers.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Yeah.
We got nothing and worse. That's it. Well, I don't like those two options. And if I'm in trouble, This is why you see so much of the country going left. If I'm in trouble, well, they got some answers. Yeah, but they're terrible. But they're answers. So they go to the terrible answer.
Yeah.
Because there's no answer on the side. Because we're so busy yelling at the other guy going, I'm mad at him because he doesn't believe in the culture war thing that I believe in. I'm sorry, you got me going, but that's where my head is on this.
No, it's okay. No, but I mean, the good news is that, you know, even if you don't have, you know, 6 figures to drop on a passport, you still have the ability to obtain a plan B. You know,
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea that there's still hope. Because again, the thing that I like is a lot of things you're saying, if you just watch it, would think, oh my God, it's negative. She must just want to hate life. But you're not. You're actually upbeat and positive. So you do have hope, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also one of the biggest things is, you know, who you surround yourself with. I mean, before I got on Twitter, like 2 years ago, it was literally me in my kitchen with my parents, just like us ranting at each other. Like, okay, we can't be the only ones that see like the BS that's happening around us with these lockdowns and stuff. So I got on Twitter and I was like, I'm just going to, you know, throw my thoughts out there and, you know, see if any of them catch. And I met amazing people. I went to the Bitcoin conference in 2021. That's where I met my now business partner, and my life is beautiful, even though I see like, you know, the coming of CBDCs and you know, Klaus Schwab and his minions and the WEF saying you'll own nothing and be happy.
Absolutely.
I'm still.
And we all got to eat bugs now too. They're gonna make us eat bugs.
Eat your cricket flour. Stay in your pod. Rent everything. You'll never own anything. It's totally fine. You know, we'll take care of you. I'm still very hopeful for a bright future. I have Bitcoin. I have my family. I have my friends, and
I bet you have more than one passport.
A gentleman never asks.
There we go. Yes. I'm just assuming you have more than one. Don't, please, I'm going to give you one bit of advice and only one bit. Don't put them all in the same place. That's all. Only advice. Because when the feds come knocking, that's enough for an indictment. That's all I'm saying. That's enough for an indictment. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, good seeing you, Jessica. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate the time you gave us. Everyone else watching, thank you so much for watching this evening. I will be on tomorrow at a very special time. 2 p.m. tomorrow, talking with the woman from Queens who actually scolded AOC more than once. She wants to fix the problems of the working class here in New York. Lucy from Blue Moon Red Wine. And then tomorrow evening, I have another interesting chat with a gentleman who's going to talk to us about, I'll tell you later. It'll be very interesting. 7 p.m. tomorrow. I will see you all